Powered by Righteous Media.
Woo! Welcome to Independent Americans. Welcome to episode 367. And in tribute to my kids, 367. We need some levity here, people. It is Wednesday, November 5th. I am, of course, your host, Paul Rykoff. It is the day after Election Day. It feels like the day after in that movie I was growing up when I was a kid and there was a nuke apocalypse and everybody was trying to figure out what the hell just happened. But let's all take a big deep breath. I mean it. Let's all take a big deep breath because it's a lot. Ready? Do it. All right. I'm tired. I was on News Nation doing live coverage until 12 a.m., which is always interesting and weird. We've got a great show coming up with a fantastic guest. My friend Sami Sage is here. The shutdown continues. Remember that? The military struck another boat off the coast of Venezuela, which happens about every 20 hours or so. The New York Jets traded away all their superstars on a perfect day in New York City to do that because the country was so distracted they really couldn't be outraged because Mamdani won in New York City. Trump is thrilled about it. Spanberger won in Virginia. Sherrill won in New Jersey. America is trying to figure out what the fuck just happened. And now, the day after the election, especially a time to stay vigilant. And helping us stay vigilant, a really fantastic, dynamic, and captivating guest, the co-founder of Betches, which is a media and cultural dynamo. She's a media powerhouse. She lives and works and builds at the intersection of culture, politics, news, entertainment, and all of it. My friend, the great and powerful Sami Sage, is finally here on Independent Americans. Welcome, Sami.
Thank you. That is such a flattering intro, and I'm thrilled to be talking to you today, of all days.
Of all days, right?
Yeah, it's been, I feel better overall having had our first election in the second Trump era than I thought I would. But, there's a lot remains to be seen.
Yeah. I mean, how much
Big
coffee
hangover.
are you drinking this morning? Like I'm
A
double
lot.
dosing cold brew here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is a little bit of like a post-election day hangover. I think it's all the dopamine with the phone, honestly, from the day before. Like you're just scrolling, refreshing all day. And I think there's like a little bit of a come down. If not from that, then from like all the anxiety of what's gonna happen. Yeah.
I think that's right. That's what it feels like. I feel like I'm beat up. I feel like it's like the day after like a football game or the day after like a really big party or something. Like I feel hungover and I feel like everybody kind of feels hungover. Like, back when you were in college and everybody kind of emerged and converged on the common space and kind of looked around and was like, how's everybody feeling? But Sami, let me ask you the question I ask everyone. Where are you and how are you?
I'm in New York. I'm in New York City. And I'm good. This era has made me really appreciate the simple, I mean, not like, the simple things, but just has helped me sort of feel more focused on like, okay, I'm okay. We're okay. This is good. And I'm happy to be talking to you, honestly. I really have appreciated your takes on this. And it just feels hard to find sort of like a nuanced take these days that is not like something else you'd find, you hear people kind of just repeating the most aggravated, extreme points of view, and it's really frustrating. So I really value when I find someone who's just kind of like, for taking it all with a grain of salt.
Thank you. I appreciate you too. We met for the first time in person at MSNBC Nightcap with Stephanie Rule, right? I don't think we had met in person before that, right?
No, I think that was the time, but I watch you all the time on MSNBC and I, was thrilled to be on the panel with you. Hopefully
talk about-
it'll happen again.
Thank you. Can we talk about how kind of weird that show is? It's kind of weird to I love Steph. I actually love the show. I think it's actually like in comparison to some of the other cable news shit shows that I experience. I feel like it moves well and there's a level of respect. I think it way obviously over indexes toward liberals. But even like the walking in and sitting there is kind of weird, right? Like what do you think of it?
So I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually think the thing that creates the weirdness is the commercial breaks. and how
Mhm.
fast you have to move through the topics. So, like, everyone maybe gets to say one thing about each topic, but if there were no commercial breaks, we could all just kind of talk straight through, and I think that we would get deeper like, you'd get deeper on different things. So, it's like the produced nature of it. I think that makes it feel like, "Okay, we're all gonna go say your line now." Yeah.
Yeah, and
And,
it's like
like,
it's
a
hard to do.
commercial, it's like everyone, "Shh," and then go, and it's like that start and stop that inhibits the just full-length conversation. I don't know, I always appreciated Bill Maher for that reason, that there's no commercial on that panel. I mean, he still has, like, breaks, and I am not, like, the biggest fan of the show as I used to be, but, like, that panel format is my favorite as long as you can kinda keep going.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. And I think, the commercial breaks are really important because people don't see that. But like, you kind of can't chit chat because you can't get started. Like, you can't even talk, hey, how was your day? Like, oh, stop. We got to get back to
Mhm.
the segment, right? So it kind of
Yeah.
creates this kind of stalemate of awkwardness. And you're right about Bill Maher. I always say that's one of the weirdest shows I've ever done for a number of reasons. Like, one, because I don't know if you've ever done the show, but
I have
like,
not, but I would love to do it. Honestly,
you should.
if anyone's listening from Bill Maher's show, please have me on. I literally didn't miss an episode of Bill Maher from, like, 2001, like, 2002, and, like, 2019 probably.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on
Yeah.
that. But I feel like Bill Maher is just, jumped the shark, aged out. I don't know. His time has passed. I mean, even just the quality of guests he gets is lower than it used to be. Maybe that's a reflection of HBO. But there's also good things about it. Like, I texted Michael Steele was recently on. He's been a guest on this show, and I think that Bill Maher is still the only show that ever paid me. Like, I think they paid me like
Oh,
it was only like
really?
$300 or $500, which is not. But they also fly you first class, and they take really
Wow.
good care of you. And there used to be a party afterward, and there used to be like a party with all the HBO people and adjacent HBO people in this like lair of a den that Bill Maher had in the back. And I remember meeting a kid from Kid and Play was back there. He was always there. He did the theme song. Like, the guys from HBO Sports would be in there. And I mean, I'll share this with you in the world. Like, Bill Maher can be a little prickly. And I remember one time I came in with a few vets who were there as my guests, and he basically like offered everybody to smoke pot except me. And
Why
I was
not
like,
you?
they always think, like, I don't know, like, liberals think that military guys don't smoke pot. And he was just kind of like, hey, we're all gonna go smoke pot. But he didn't invite me. He wasn't like, hey, you want to go for a walk with
That's
us?
so rude.
Yeah, but it's not uncommon, right? It's not uncommon.
Was he wrong? Was he right?
No,
Would
he
you have
wasn't right. I was
partaken?
down to smoke. I was like,
That's
dude,
what
I just get,
I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Look, maybe it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that I love that. Okay, this is my take because I
And there was a
used to
bar
love.
too. There was like a bar. Some people were getting drunk, and like people's friends would come. It was kind of cool and fun because there was actually a social part after it. And I've talked about Meet the Press in a very different but similar kind of way, where after Meet the Press, people would bring it. They would bring in a meal, and you would have brunch together. It was very civilized and very social. And a lot of that is gone.
Media budgets. Is that what
Yeah,
it is?
I think it's
Or
also
is it
just like
just
people stop giving a fuck. Like, they stop being nice. They stop being social. They stop building relationships in the same way they used to, I think. I mean, you're so great at this and you have such a really deep community. I want to get to top topics, but let me ask you this, Sammy. Can you talk about Betches? Talk about what you've built? Because I think that is, it's a reflection, but also an insight into these times and this community you have and this network you have.
Yeah, so I have quite a unique situation. Two of my childhood friends and I happened to be in college together, like, by chance. We started a blog when we were in college in 2011. We were about to graduate, and we did this, like, an anonymous satirical blog called Betches Love This. And we were basically just kind of satirizing and writing about young women that we didn't realize we were writing about people more than those whom we knew. Like, we thought we were making fun of the people around us. It ultimately basically went viral, and I've never had another job other than running Betches. I mean, that has been a million jobs in one, but so that was 2011, we grew it. If you could track, like, the way media and social media have evolved, like, that was how we grew our business. We never, took investors, so we bootstrapped the company entirely to profitability. We sold it to a UK-based publisher called Lad Bible in 2023. My space within Betches grew into being the news and politics. And through that, I essentially became a news and politics creator, podcaster. But our POV on politics and news is, we're not reporting, we're not doing, what you're going to see on MSNBC, but we're trying to communicate the news and information through culture. And it's not even like so much about like, obviously we come down on the left, but that's not because like we care about being on the left. It's just sort of a value alignment, especially when you think about like women's rights and, equality, and all these things are really like, I think, a very key piece. Like we're writing about mostly millennial women to start. Now we have quite a big Gen Z fan base. And yeah, I mean, we're writing about culture in all different places. So we have Betches Sports, Betches, we do pop culture, we do relationships, we have a big partnership with the NFL. I mean, that might be, I feel like this is the audience to share that with. But we've really, taken on every vertical and every platform. And it is a rare new media success story where, we really built like a loyal audience that was not kind of purchased in a way.
And really groundbreaking. Like there's a lot of talk, I think, especially last year, about the manosphere, but you were kind of the womosphere, like 1.0, long before
Yeah.
Barstool, before Pod Save America. I mean, you all were out there breaking really important ground, and that community has kind of grown up with you and evolved, and is now in a very powerful position, I think, right, in their life evolution, right, where they are in their life.
Yeah. I mean, we have a mom's vertical, we've really taken, you know, Betches through the lifestyle, and we have grown up with the audience. And, to your point about that, it is like a media story. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, and we are going to continue to grow it.
Well,
But
it's inspiring. I'm glad you're bringing it to independent Americans. Betches are all welcome here. The whole Betches world are welcome here. We celebrate you, but really,
independent Betches.
your courageous story, and like how hard it is to do this thing, but also how important it is in this moment. So maybe we'll use that as a pivot point to get into the number one story I think we've got to cover today. I always say, if you're not angry, you're not paying attention. And this top topic today should surprise no one. The top topic is the day after the election. We're going to get into many nuances of it with Sami. We're going to talk about New Jersey governor. We're going to talk about Virginia governor. But I really think that we have to talk also on a parallel track about how our elections are broken. Prop 50 passed, which I have opposed and think is gerrymandering in a way that undermines our democracy. But the big story, I think the big story for the country and for the world, is Mamdani. And I just want to share some thoughts that I posted yesterday, and I want to reiterate today as we start to digest what this is all about. And if you didn't see his entire speech, I recommend you do that. Beneath all the spin and the clips and how it gets chopped up, go check out the full speech. Go to C-SPAN or somewhere like that and check it out. And I'm going to ask Chris to post a quick clip to start, because I think the tone of it is really important for folks to understand. And Sami, I'm sure you've seen it.
They want the people to fight amongst ourselves so that we remain distracted from the work of remaking a long broken system. We refuse to let them dictate the rules of the game anymore. They can play by the same rules as the rest of us. Together, we will usher in a generation of change. And if we embrace this brave new course, rather than fleeing from it, we can respond to oligarchy and authoritarianism with the strength it fears, not the appeasement it craves. After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
My top line here, historic, no doubt, and an incredible American story that's going to inspire millions, and especially so many people that feel and are shut out. And this, in many ways, is what change looks like and what so many people want. People want change from all sides. But I think that Mamdani and his socialist agenda also divides millions. I think that's almost indisputable. And he hardly has a mandate. This is no mandate any more than Trump had a mandate. As of right now, he's got 50.4%. That means about 1 million out of 2 million voters. As a Democrat in New York City, where Kamala Harris got, I think, over 65%. So that is not a mandate, especially given how atrocious the candidates were that he was running against. And I'm always going to fight for and root for New York City. I've worn a uniform for New York City. I would die for New York City. And I really do want him to succeed. And I want New York City to be this light that he talked about last night. But to do that, I think there's a really important thing we have to do. We have to turn the volume down in this country, not up. And the headline from his speech last night was Donald Trump, turn the volume up. I think that was entirely the wrong message and the wrong tone and the wrong start. We have to have moderate, compromising, unifying people to succeed. We got to have balanced competence for him. He's got to have brilliance, competence, nonpartisanship, selflessness. And I think make it less about Trump's extreme politics or his own and more about us, all of us, especially the majority of us. Because for me, that speech was so important. It was an opening and a welcoming of a direct and highly partisan and ideological war between him and Trump, and between the federal government and New York City. And Trump is thrilled to have it, especially because he has a bigger mic and he has the bigger guns. And I say this all the time, the biggest story in America, in the world, is still that Donald Trump can do whatever he wants with the most powerful military in the world. That includes New York City. And I think New York City can be caught in the middle. So, hear it for yourself. I never bet against New York because we've always been bigger than one leader. But make no mistake, this was not a moderate speech. It was not a speech that will turn down the heat, which is what I think we need most right now. And in much of America, I think even more today, it looks like the far right against the far left. And many of us are somewhere in the center, but we're being drowned out by the extremes and all the forces, domestically and especially foreign, that want to see a fight. So I think maybe a big takeaway for me that I want to reiterate is the answer to Trump and the far right is not the far left. It's finding a way to unite the majority of us in the middle, not just the independents, but everybody in the middle. And we're still waiting for a leader and leaders to do that. And I went to bed last night saying that I was more concerned for our city and our country than ever. And as my kids went to school today, Sami, I felt like a lot of unease. It felt a lot like when Trump got elected both times. We are very much a city divided, and lots of folks are concerned, lots of folks are excited, and it feels like how much of America felt every time Trump was elected. And I think today, nobody's more excited than Donald Trump. There's so much bad that he can do before Mamdani is inaugurated in January, and we're still stuck with the corrupt disaster that is Eric Adams until then. So most importantly, again, I just want to reiterate, the most important story in the world is that Donald Trump can do whatever he wants with the most powerful military the world has ever seen. And that extends to New York City and to New Jersey and Virginia and everywhere else. Don't have a failure of imagination, because Trump won't. And maybe most importantly, be kind out there, especially today, because we're all in this together. And I think the storm is coming, and storms are coming. And that's why I'm so grateful to have you here, Sami. That's my monologue. I don't normally do monologues, but I have to put that out there, and especially ask people to consider the tone, consider the national security imperative, and consider what we can do in our own sphere to make things better, because there's a lot of dunking today. There's a lot of fear today. And in my gut, I'm just always thinking about, what does this look like to our enemies and what does it look like to our kids? But Sami, the mic is yours. What do you think today?
Like, which direction, which point do I pursue? Like, which path do I walk down? Okay, I want to start with I think your most important point, which is that the answer to Trump is not the far left. I actually don't think the answer to Trump is like an ideology that falls on the spectrum. I think it is a unified, fundamentally pro-American, small L liberal approach where we are feeding into anger the more we are divided. And this like tendency, and it comes from living online, obviously, and all the military grade narrative influence that's happening online in our digital sphere, there is benefit to us arguing with each other. And I have felt all different things about Mamdani. Like, I feel like I can really see like a 360 picture of him. Like, I see what people like about him. I see I see that the real thing that I think moved people towards him is that he's willing to try in a situation where it just feels like every leader is like bought off and they're just like a pussy. Like, I want to talk about Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' role in this, like specifically. When you have that, it's like, okay, why would I even entertain any of this? Cuomo ran actually, I think, the most embarrassing political campaign I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I think Jen O'Malley Dillon would have helped him, to be honest. So that is like another level. At the same time, I'm thinking about the night as a whole. He didn't crack 51%. Spanberger and Sherrill both overperformed while everyone thought, oh, Mamdani's going to like hit 55, 60. He's going to have a mandate. They overperform relative to him, relative to Kamala Harris, relative to like everything. Democrats overperformed. Not not one particular ideology. Mamdani doing like not as well as I thought he'd do in New York City actually gives me like, okay, he got elected obviously, but it's not like this overwhelming support that I thought. And to your point about his speech, I found the speech to be a bit at odds with like the way he campaigned, because he campaigned like jolly good boy.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I was like, okay, he's gonna really like, he's actually trying to send this message, we're gonna unify. I actually care about everybody. And then this speech was like a little bit harsh. Like, like pick it apart because I keep trying to say like I'm going to give him, like, I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I can speak to some of the specific pieces as well. I just felt that it was like, maybe there's a lot of adrenaline, but I just felt that it was not as happy. Like, I didn't see the smile wiped off his face the whole campaign, and he wasn't like smiling during it. It just, I don't know.
No, I think that's right. Can we pause on that? Because I think that's
Yeah.
really important, because I think tone is important. And even Van Jones hit him on this last night on CNN and caught a lot of friction from the left. I mean, it was angry, and it was fire. It was
It wasn't
fire.
like, yeah.
And it was
It wasn't
also
like,
there was a bit in, I'm going to put a word on it. There's always grievance. That's important part of populism, but there was a bit of vengeance. And that's what I think, where the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Like, we won, we're taking the castle, and we're coming for you. That was a
yeah.
message, right? And the coming for you is we're coming after Donald Trump. And then it was this twist on like, we're gonna fix New York because New York created Donald Trump. I'm like, look, like New York.
It's like New Yorkers hate Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, he never won an election here, right? But it was a really, I think the important thing was it was angry, it was fiery. You could say, yeah, that's what people want to see. They want to see a fight. But there was no attempt to reach out to Republicans. And there was no attempt to say, I'm everyone's mayor now, right? There was no unifying moment to bring everyone together. It kind of confirmed what people were worried about.
Yeah. It was just different. I felt like I was not looking at I felt like I was looking at someone who I had seen people were trying to show me who he was before the campaign. And then he ran a campaign that I thought was I'll give you like my real feelings on him. And because I'm coming at this from like the Jewish community, and it's not even about like one place. Like, I'm not trying to push up Zionist, anti-Zionist, like own conversation. We could literally do an hour just on that.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about it in terms of like, how does the community feel? Like, I don't want it to be divided. Like, I know Jews of every stripe, like truly, like, and I feel that I have an understanding of like the different factions and what people are very concerned about and what certain people are overlooking or what it is. But and that was really the biggest concern for me, because the whole time he's saying, I know I want to go wipe out the scourge of anti-Semitism. And it's like, well, there are a lot of people who tried to dialogue with him during the campaign. And at the end of about what that definition of anti-Semitism is, because that's and I'm not saying, oh, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. I'm saying that there are things that have nothing to do with Israel, that have nothing to do with Zionism, that I don't think people necessarily perceive as dangerous to Jews, which then becomes actually dangerous. You see how hate crimes Jews are the number one group that experiences hate crimes. And it just felt like, okay, he follows up the one sentence about anti-Semitism with and I don't think he should apologize for being Muslim, but it was very much I don't remember exactly, but there were 3 sentences that were um, Islamophobia will not keep me out of the mayor's house. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think it should. But I think at this moment, you have people who are concerned. And why wouldn't you take every single care in the world to be really genuinely, I'm going to be there for you? And something I will say that I think happened, and maybe why he didn't break 55 or 60 like people thought, is that I heard a bunch of people saying this to me yesterday, at least 5 or 6 examples, or heard of them. And I think it might have happened in other communities as well, maybe even amongst cops. There were a lot of people who were into Mamdani, especially up to maybe a few weeks ago. And they thought, oh, he's really trying to get out there, talk to everybody. And then in the final stretch, there was this kind of never really it going deeper on what, he was going to do. I think another good example is with the NYPD. It was there weren't really many specifics about how he wasn't going to do or was going to, there was never an announcement about who's going to be in his administration. There just wasn't a depth that was, pursued towards the end. And I think that I thought we'd get a little more about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think as a result, I heard of a few people who were into him, and then they went in the voting booth and they were I'm not so sure about that. And some of them either I think maybe left it blank or they went for Cuomo.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is, for me, this is practical, right? I have a problem with any candidate that is facing huge opposition from any targeted ethnic group or religious group, right? If any group in a high percentage was severely worried about their safety because of a candidate, I would make note of that, right? So let's just talk about, you can't debate that there is huge concern within the New York Jewish community. Whether it's warranted or not, it's a thing, right? And that's a thing he has to deal with, he has to face, and I don't think he's done a good enough job facing it. That's one. Number two, cops hate him. I mean, cops hate him so much, and that may not be fair, but they hate him more than de Blasio. They hate him more than Hillary Clinton. This is and some of it's propaganda, some of it's their own biases, some of it is a lack of education. But I would compare it to, if half the military or an overwhelming percentage of the military hated the president, because this is the group of people he has to govern on day one. And the thing I'm concerned about most deeply is, so let's say 500 cops walk out on day one, right? Let's say it's 100. That gives Trump what he needs to say, we need security in New York City. The cops are walking out on Mamdani. I'm sending in the National Guard. And I don't.
Those cops going to join ICE?
I don't, probably, because it's a $50,000 signing bonus. Really, the $50,000 signing bonus, they're going to tell you, hey, you don't have to have the same restrictions and all the other nonsense that de Blasio put you through, whether it's fair or not. Yeah, I mean, it's a competitive environment right now. And just like you're competing for votes and you're competing for moderates, you're competing for the folks who are in law enforcement. And this is not a good time to lose law enforcement, right? And so I don't think people appreciate the level of distrust and just outright anger toward him from the cops. And the cops are our military, basically, in this city, right? It's the biggest police force in the world. And if you don't have the cops on day one, everything else stops, right? It's like stopping sanitation. If you lose sanitation, the garbage stops, you can't do anything else. So that's why I put those two issues front and center. Whether they're fair or not, they're real, right? And that, for me, was what I couldn't get past.
Well, I would argue that they're incredibly fair to bring up. I can't judge what he's going to say, but a few weeks ago, and this is where I'm Cuomo's campaign was just so embarrassing. A few weeks ago, this video comes out where he's said in 2023 that the New York Police Department laces its boots, the IDF laces the NYPD's boots.
Boot on your neck.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now we're hitting anti-Semitic stereotypes, like classic ones, Jews running the world. Come on. And then, we can talk about what he thinks he's saying with the training and whatever, but like, don't they train with lots of other countries as well that are also he would be into? It's okay. Do you think that the NYPD wants to hear that they're the IDF's bitch? Like that, I'm sure went over really well.
That's the point I made, Sammy, right? Like people say to me, oh, you're taking that clip out of context, or, there is a connection.
Okay,
My
then
point was,
explain it.
my point was
He didn't
that video is
explain.
real. That's like a sex tape. It's real. You can't unsee it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
there. People see it, whether it's fair or not. You have to address it, and whether or not it's out of context. Every cop has seen it. Every cop has seen it multiple times. So you have to address it head on. You can't just say, oh, I'm being stereotyped or that's unfair. There's this larger issue about the IDF. All that may be true, but that video is still real. I mean, that must be addressed. And when I wanted to let it go, there are more clips. There are more clips. And then there's last night's speech, which really kind of reaffirms a tone that he didn't make a direct appeal to the cops in a way that he needed to. He didn't make a direct appeal to Jews in the way he needed to. He didn't make a direct appeal to Republicans that exist in this city, right? And Sliwa may only have gotten 8%, but he got 8% in New York. And that's a formidable army to contend with, because it sounds like that's what Sliwa's going to do. He's going to turn him into some kind of political army tomorrow, and now you got to deal with that. So I just think
Great.
it was maybe one thing I would ask you, Sammy, is like, I hate to be the old guy, right? I'm only 15 years older than him, but there was a level of arrogance and immaturity, and almost like I felt like only someone who's never been at war would ask for a war.
Well,
And that's what I felt like he was doing last night. He was like, "Let's fight," and I'm like, "But bro, he's got the entire military, and you're picking
right.
a fight with a guy who can steamroll tanks into the streets tomorrow, and you can't stop him."
Right. It's also like I do appreciate that he recognized people through his campaign that had that really don't get the spotlight, like bodega owners and
1,000%.
Abuela. I thought that was like a nice part of the speech where he really called out like all these different people. But like if you have a war with Donald Trump, like those people are going to take the brunt of it. And I think that like when people, what one of the criticisms people had of him. And I think it's one of these things where it's like when you feel a certain way about someone, everything they do is going to be seen in that light. And if you feel good about them, like you're gonna kind of overlook those things. And I play this game with myself whenever I'm like looking at a situation. I call it most charitable, least charitable. And I ask myself, like, okay, what would like this person's mother say? Like,
Mm.
what is like all the slack in the world you can give someone that, all their assume all the best intentions. And then least charitable, it's like, what would their enemies say? Like, what is the person who's like not going to give them any of the benefit of the doubt? Like, what's like the worst, most like least just like beneficial way you can look at someone. And I do that with like everything. And I see that. And I've been doing that this whole election with him where I'm like, okay, well, I can see, maybe he has these like, maybe he really means it. Like maybe he really is this like kumbaya, multicultural, whatever. And I'm like, I hope he reaches towards that. Like, I hope that's what he does. And yeah. And then sometimes I'm like, but
You know what?
but why didn't you address those things?
You know what it was, Sammy? Like some of it was, frankly, and I've said this a lot about Trump. Some of it was amateur hour. Some of it was clearly a guy who was not ready for this moment in some ways. And I was around Barack Obama a lot during those times when he was thrust forward. And there were a lot of criticisms about whether or not Barack Obama was ready for that moment. And I think Barack Obama
Different
always
guy.
rose to that moment. I love Barack Obama. I fought with him on many issues, but I think he was such a transformative president, maybe the most important president of our lifetime, maybe one of the most important presidents ever. But he's no Obama, because what Obama would do was recognize all those people and then weave it back together into a we, right? He comes from the Marshall Gantt school where it's not about me, it's about we, right? And I feel like Mamdani failed to square that circle. It still felt like us versus them, which is the radicalism that comes from the right? Talk about the other. Instead of the other being immigrants, The other is now the billionaires, and the other is Trump, and it's the oligarchy, and it's Republicans. And that is what I think is most dangerous, and we need to put a point on, because the far left last night did a lot of what the far right does. They're not the same, but what America saw was a Democratic Party dominated by this vision and this person, because he's got the microphone and because he's so charismatic and he's such an effective communicator over here, and Donald Trump on the other split screen. So whether you like it or not, it's going to be Mamdani and Trump on the split screen until further notice.
Well, I think what the reason, so let's say you go most charitable and you say, okay, he's not really
And I love
like
that, by the way. I love that, by the way.
Thank you. It's
Coach,
my
I'll give you a football one. Coach Bill Cowher is a friend and mentor to me, and he used to always say something like, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are. Something like that.
I think about that all. That's literally like my life motto. Like, no one's that great and no one's that terrible. It's like, and everyone can change. And so to your point about that, the Trump versus Mamdani, when people say, oh, Mamdani's nothing like Trump, and I don't think they are, like, they're just different beasts. But the effect psychologically that they have on their people is similar. And that is what draws the comparison. So I think it's important to distinguish, like, it's not all about the two people. It's about what they call, like, the reaction you get when you would say something that their fans don't agree with. But one thing that I was going to say, Schumer and Jeffries.
Please.
They created this man. Or, what, that's not true. I take that back. What
they're sucking so badly created space for this man.
They have beclowned themselves. They beclown themselves every second that this continues. Like, the fact, because here's the thing, they clearly did not want to endorse him. And I don't think they need to. That's their right. But you have to actually not endorse him. You have to say, here's what I need to hear to get to be able to confidently endorse you, or have a conversation. They literally, if I'm Chuck Schumer and I'm Hakeem Jeffries and I can call this man, because I did try to, this isn't even necessarily personal because I'm not the only person. Like, I really tried to get an interview with him and to do a conversation about anti-Semitism in the Jewish community. And I know other people who did too, other Jewish people who are not like haters and who are, there was no opportunity to give him follow-up questions. And that's what Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's job would be, to get answers to the questions that people wanted to know. Many questions that I had and I still have, and many Jews have. He did like a written interview with Jewish Telegraphic Agency where there's no follow-ups. There's like no clear, like, okay, what about, can I ask and there's a difference when you like have 30 minutes or 60 minutes with someone and you go back and forth and you can, like, you don't just let them filibuster like when he goes on MSNBC. And that's not to that, like, their fault, but like, there's just not enough time.
Yeah, I mean, it's Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are like the moderate Republicans who just hoped Trump would go away. It's like watching Mitt Romney just think, oh, Trump's just going to burn out. Trump's going away, and not recognizing that they're exposing their own weakness and lack of authenticity, right? Like, I mean, it's a little thing, but last night I was getting ready to go on TV. And I said to my wife, I was like, tie or no tie? And she's like, it's a serious night. She said, what is everybody else doing? And I looked and I was like, okay, I'm going to do everybody else has a tie. I looked around. The only person who didn't have a tie on last night was Hakeem Jeffries. And I'm like, and is it because he's trying to be cool? Is it because he's just always off? Right? He's always off. And I think that the weakness of Schumer, and I would put Kathy Hochul in this compartment too, who I think is painfully weak and always appeasing and always flip-flopping, and just her like walking around the Buffalo Bills jacket with Mamdani. It just looks sad. It looks sad and weak. And there's just all
people
this
like
weakness.
her now because she is supporting him.
And that's what it is. It's so obvious. She's just trying to get some of his shine, right? But the real rock stars that are undeniable, in my view, right, are AOC and Mamdani. They are incredibly effective. They are multi-sport athletes, the likes of which we have never seen, right? The Kennedy comparisons, it's not that. It's something else, right? The only Democrat that I say has that kind of skill that I've seen is Wes Moore. And Wes can do the culture. Wes can go uptown, downtown, everywhere in between, and he can weave it together. But he might not be pissed off enough for this party.
I don't even think it's that he's not pissed off enough, because is America going to allow a pissed off black man to be president? I don't think they're going to go for that. But, I think more with Wes Moore is that okay, I don't know that AOC really I don't put her in this category necessarily because she has a different skill, and I'll get to what I think she's good at in a second. He doesn't feel like he's obsessed with power enough, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, but he doesn't seem like he there's a desperation that I think certain politicians have where they their body cannot help but gravitate towards a camera. And there's no do I want to say this? Is this becoming of me? And I think that Wes Moore just has a bit more dignity than the people on the national stage right now. And I mean that as a compliment.
No, I think that's important. And I'm going to keep saying this. A lot of people are talking about 2028, and I want to go to our next segment and be mindful of your time, Sammy, because you've been so generous. And I love this conversation.
I got 10 more minutes for you, Paul.
Okay. I still think that Wes Moore is the best shot they've got. I think he's the most formidable. I think he's the most dynamic. He brings just enough of what they want and just enough change. He's the kind of Goldilocks. I think he's more dynamic than Gavin Newsom and doesn't have all the baggage of a California liberal. I think Spanberger
why did Gavin Newsom? Okay, Gavin Newsom. His biggest misstep for me was that he referred to Speaker Jeffries because that sounds not that motivating.
Yeah,
I understand he's trying to be artful with it, and I don't know, maybe it's Nancy Pelosi.
They're all used to their playbooks, and that's the challenge with Newsom. I root for him against Trump, and I've told him that, and I've told his team that. But he's still looks like a California liberal game show host that they've known for 20 years.
That's who he is.
If he shaved his head and had some work gloves and pulled a Buttigieg here, maybe it'll work. But it's still him. Let me ask you, Sammy. Can we go to the next segment here? And I do want to be mindful of your time. I could do this for days, but let's get to something that I think is really important. That's in your wheelhouse. That is below the radar. Story that I don't think is getting enough attention, Sammy. That I really want your thoughts on. It was a huge night for moderate white women Democrats with a background in national security. Spanberger in Virginia won big. She was a former CIA intelligence officer. Mikey Sherrill is a Navy chopper pilot. And Donald Trump sat both of those elections out. I think he's wishing he didn't now. But I think if Democrats want to continue to win statewide elections and national elections and get independents and Republicans, that's a playbook that can really work. Spanberger and Sherrill, I posted this last night, are kind of like what Democrats hoped Hillary Clinton would be. They're strong and experienced and competent and moderate and female, but they're also veterans of the CIA and Navy, which I think are really, really important. And they don't have the baggage and the negatives of the Clinton name. So I think, what's possible for Democrats in competitive national races, if they make it their brand, is that instead of Mamdani on the left. But that's tough to do for a party that is leaderless, is having an identity crisis where Trump holds the mic and more controls of government, by the day. But I do think if I look across the spectrum, I think that Mikey Sherrill and Spanberger are really important stories. I think are going to be the Democrats just put them in the ring, right? There's this ring with Trump and choose your fighter. They just put those two in, and I think they're going to be formidable.
Well, Donald Trump did basically fire half of Spanberger's future constituency. So, not half, but
no, that's important. It's true.
Plenty to say.
True.
Yeah.
I also think they can unite. If I can say one more thing, they have an opportunity to unite what I've called the patriotic purged.
Yes.
All the FBI agents, all the federal workers, all the veterans, all the CIA folks, all the folks in the Justice Department who have been kicked out and are now waiting to be organized. I think Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill are in a unique position. It would be more so if they weren't Democrats, but they have a unique ability and potential to unify the patriotic purged.
I agree with you. I think that my feeling is there needs to be not a de-alignment, but a deprioritization of party, because the party doesn't really matter. All that matters is whether you are going to do things that stand up for democracy and reform our democracy. And what I've been saying for a while, let's talk about Spanberger and Sherrill in a second, but what I've been saying is that I think there needs to be a nonpartisan platform that any candidate across the spectrum, no matter how you're running, can say that they are behind. And that would be an anti-corruption platform to get money out of politics entirely. So money is not speech. Corporations are not people. You got to be, no trading stocks. What is this bullshit? Come on, term limits, I think there needs to be a reformation of the relationship between like government contractors and the government. Like, why is there not a firewall? Like, why is it that like our defense contractors and now these tech companies are like the number one welfare queens? Like, and then they don't even like, there's just so many fundamental problems that cannot be fixed with like the small little adjustments that I have heard pitched. And I think that like, unless there's a movement that, you know, I don't think it's really no kings. I think it's like a fair representation and like get the money the fuck out of here. Like, we don't want your money. Like,
I'm with you 100%. I would call it really something. It's a code of ethics. It's like an honor code.
Like a voter's bill of rights. Like, why
it's like
are we arguing about voting every?
It's like the honor code at West Point. I will not lie, cheat, or steal, right? Like, it's a very basic level. That's how low our expectations are now, but also maybe the kind of level set that we need. I have to get to one thing that was also below the radar related to that. Independent Veterans of America, folks listening know about this. We are recruiting and supporting independent veterans running for public office. We had 2 winners last night. Mike Prokuk for Frederick County School Board in Virginia, and Toby Proctor, Granby, Connecticut Board of Finance. There's a shift happening. It may be below the radar. It is independent. We're proud to announce that 2 of these brave independent veterans stepped up and ran this year. And I think they're showing America what nonpartisan public service can look like. And we're helping veterans run. If you want to run as an independent, or you want to support those who are, if you're independent curious, as I say, check out independentveteransofamerica.org. But I want to come back to you on this topic, Sami, because I think you're touching on something. People want an alternative.
Has Karine Jean-Pierre reached out to you yet? I'm just wondering.
I have reached out multiple times, and they have told me that they'll get to it. They have not set a date. She's been on every other show, but this, maybe my ratings aren't high enough.
The independent show?
Look, I welcome that conversation. I've reached out multiple times. I've reached out to her on X. She was the Grand Marshal of the Pride Parade, I think, recently, or another, in New York. When she came to New York, she was the Grand Marshal of the Pride Parade. I reached out to her then. I'm going to keep reaching out. I welcome her to come here and have this conversation. And it will be much less of an ass kicking than she's gotten in other places, I think. I will be respectful and give her space.
Karine, you hear that? Well, just to your, because you know, I do have like a little five. I have 10 more minutes now. Like, I'm gonna just, I want to keep going.
Okay, thank you. And
I'll just be late to like, I'll make it.
Bonus content with Sami Sage. Bonus content. Bonus content for independent Betches. Betches. It's hard for me to say that, right? I don't want to say it. I'm like,
you're not the first person to.
I don't want to say it. That's why I don't want to be like. Betches. I feel like I can't own that. I know, but I feel like it's not mine to own. Like,
you can own it.
Okay,
right.
All right.
I get it though. You wouldn't be the first.
I'm deferring, right?
Yeah. Look, you're an independent batch. No, I think with Spanberger and Sherrill, like, I think that they're a great story of just like quiet competence. And I think it's like not every city, not every district, not every state needs like a big show. Sometimes they just want someone who understands their people. Like, I actually think this idea that like you need a national star everywhere is stupid. They need to be able to communicate. They need to be able to be effective on social media, but they don't need to be like Graham Plattner. You know, I mean, we'll talk to that. That's another show. But I just think this like idea that we need to like celebrify them is dangerous, actually, because politicians should not be celebrities. Like, you should be able to kick them out very easily if they're doing a bad job. And
let's celebrate competence, right? Like Andy Byman, the guy who worked to fix the subways, and now I think they're sticking him on some other project in New York City. Like that guy, you know, I said the 2 people I still want to run for mayor of New York City are Errol Lewis from New York 1 and Brian Lair. I think there are 2 people, there are not 2 people who love the city more, know the city more respected than those 2. So I'm going to continue to say maybe 4 years from now, Errol Lewis and Brian Lair can run as a combo, but I think they're the true like default mayors of New York. If you live in New York, you know what I mean. If you don't, Errol's been on this show. I hope Brian will join us at some point soon.
Well, something I think is underappreciated in these managerial roles, like it's different than Congress, which is like, whatever. It's a role, I guess. If you have a job that you have to go to because the government, whatever. I think that people don't appreciate like how difficult it is to be an executive of a state or a city, especially New York City. And it's not like a flashy job where you show up at the parades. Like, the amount of discussion on parades was offensive to me when it's a This is the most complex city in the world. You have thousands of people living on one block. It's insane to me that this, like, so much nothing was the focus. And I don't think it's that people don't care. I just don't think there's a lot of room to prioritize competence. And I think, like, in the Democratic primary, Brad Lander has somewhat of a similar platform to Mamdani. But why weren't people interested in Lander with his experience as comptroller? It's because it's a show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you will run because you have executive experience and you've been
No.
very successful as an entrepreneur and as a communicator. I know when you say no, like whenever somebody says no, it makes me want them to run more because that's exactly what we need is people who don't want to run. So can the Betches create a PAC and elect you and other Betches to office?
What I'll tell you is I've said this before. I will not run when there's money in the system like this because I refuse to spend my time begging people for money. Like I fundamentally, I don't do that in my job. I don't do that. I won't do that not in my job. If there were no public, if things were publicly financed and we were just like actually running and you didn't have to spend your literally half of your job begging rich people for money. You don't want to beg. I don't want to beg anyone. I don't want to think about this. I don't want to orient myself towards bringing money in so that I can like run the campaign. The only place the money should be going is towards fixing the constituents' problems. And if we can like reorient politics away from this, I'm not getting involved in that system where like I'm not answering to like a fucking United Healthcare lobbyist. Like, I'm sorry, go fuck yourself.
There it is. Well, I think there is a very, very unique potential, and I'm not going to generalize, but I'm going to say like you, right? Let's say someone like Dave Portnoy. You have a constituency, you have a platform, you have a community. Charlie Kirk was an example, right? There are others that have Ezra Klein. I don't know who else, right? But especially those of you that have built communities and businesses, you are uniquely positioned to turn those communities into political power. In a good way, I hope, not in a nefarious way, but in a very populist and real way too.
What I would love to turn it into is this movement to get corruption and money out of politics. Because I just think you're playing a different game. Then you don't have to like, oh, do we have the public option? Do we Medicare for all? Like, why don't we actually figure it out? We figure it out, not the people we're going to literally pay so that we can. Don't even get me started. Okay. I can't.
No, Sammy, you and I will figure it out. Before we do, I got to get to the last segment that we do, and we need it now, especially today. We need something good.
Something good. Oh, something sweet. Feel the fire, feel the heat.
So I'm going to start off, and then I'm coming to you, Sammy, please. I'm going to start with something really good, but like shouldn't be noteworthy. Our elections were without violence. Yeah. I know it's a low bar, but it's a good thing. Like I took my sons to vote yesterday. My 80-year-old mother-in-law voted. My mom voted. Like everybody voted and it was safe. Now there might've been minor incidents I didn't hear about, but overwhelmingly safe, fair, uncontested elections that for the most part seem to go off without a hitch. And I think, we have to find these bright spots in America right now. And for me, that was one of them. It's a good thing. Nobody's contesting the election today. It seemed free, fair, and most importantly, safe enough that I could take my 6-year-old to the election. So that's my something good. Sammy, over to you. What do you got that's something good?
I think that's great. I think people should note what this felt like so that when it feels different, So, I mean, there's so much good pop music out these days. I went to see Sabrina Carpenter last week. She was unreal. She is incredible. She did 5, I think, sold out nights at Madison Square Garden. Amazing. And then Lily Allen came out with an amazing album called West End Girl. And it's like this biographical tale of how she split up with her husband. And it's amazing music. There's just incredible pop music right now. And it actually just brings my spirits up, truly.
I'm going to echo that. I love Sabrina Carpenter and I love Lily Allen. That's a great name to bring back into the discussion. I have been introducing my boys in a really strong way to Ed Sheeran and like all the diversity that is Ed Sheeran. At the same time, when he dressed like the clown from It on Halloween, if you haven't seen that, check it out. It's really fucking scary.
Yeah.
But that is really something good, Sammy, and you are something good. Thank you
for
joining us on this show. Thank you for all that you're doing. Where can folks follow you, find out more, and join the Betches?
Follow me at Sami on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm at Sami Sanchez. I'm also at Sami Sanchez on Substack, getting a little bit of a lisp saying that. I do obviously follow Betches News at Betches. And every single morning, I do a podcast called the Morning Announcements Podcast. And it is 5-ish minutes. And I break down all the headlines with like a little, snarky commentary. But, if you get your news there, you don't have to scroll all day and you will be caught up on what's going on.
I love it. Independent Americans, do it. Sami, my deepest thanks to you for joining us, for doing what you do, for bringing the energy. We needed it today. We needed some perspective and some of you today to help us sort through this. And I hope you'll come back regularly because we are daily now. Folks, Independent Americans is daily. Hit subscribe right now, especially if you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, wherever else. I was on News Nation till 12 a.m. last night, so I'm a little foggy here. I will be back on at 3 o'clock today with Connell McShane for my weekly national security and politics segment. Lots to talk about there. I might be on MSNBC with Nicole Wallace. I'll be again on my regular segment tomorrow with Katie Tur at 3 o'clock. Coming up tomorrow, we've got Jim Vanderhey from Axios. Lots to talk about there. And Friday, Joy Taylor is back to talk sports and culture and Football Friday. Next week is Veterans Day. Interestingly, Mamdani's first major public appearance may be a parade, and it's probably going to be the Veterans Day parade here in New York on Tuesday. General Mark Hertling will be with us. Henry Rollins is coming back. Subscribe, get the merch, and remember that the future is full of independence because independents are the future. You're not alone in your independence. America's divided, especially today, but in Independent Americans and Righteous Media, we're battling to change that, to add light, to contrast the heat. And if you're now among the 50% of Americans, probably more today, who are independent, this is your show. Country over party, people over politics, light over heat, busting up that status quo and fueling a new, more positive movement that is growing across our society. I hope you like this show with Sami. Please check it out, share it far and wide, follow Sami and all her things, and invite others to declare their independence, especially today. If you're pissed off about yesterday, 10,000 people are going to declare their independence from the Republican and Democratic parties, and it should include you. Stay vigilant, my friends, because eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. And even today, especially today, hope is the oxygen of democracy, and it will keep you vigilant. No, you're not alone in your vigilance. We're all vigilant, and we're all in this together. Thank you again, Sami Sage. See you tomorrow. Stay vigilant, America.
Powered by Righteous Media.